Welcome sa third episode ng ating summer lesson plan tutorial. So for today's episode, we will study and write the psychomotor objective. And here are the objectives for this episode. Now, the psychomotor domain is the last domain that we will discuss before we proceed to writing our own lesson plans. Now, if the cognitive objective focuses on the mental skill and the affective objective focuses on the attitude and behavior, the psychomotor objective includes physical movement, coordination, and use of the motor skill areas. In other words, it involves the movement of the learner. Importante ang psychomotor domain because once a person learns something, kailangan ma-practice niya ito consistently. And in order to develop the skill needed for the learning competency, it should be measured in terms of speed, precision, procedures, or techniques in execution. Ibig sabihin, meron siya mga pagdadaan ng mga procedures para maipakita na talagang alam niya kung ano yung ginagawa niya. There are different psychomotor skills a learner can experience, and the psychomotor skills can be seen from manual tasks to more complex tasks, but we will discuss that later. Now, for the psychomotor objective, we have 7 major categories starting from the simplest behavior to the most complex. The 7 major categories for the psychomotor domain starts with perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complex overt response, adaptation, and origination. And as you can see, perception is the simplest behavior and origination is the most complex behavior. Now let us examine the different categories for the psychomotor domain. The first category for the psychomotor domain is perception, and the learner uses sensory cues to guide motor activity. In other words, kailangan ng learner ng isang stimulus or isang bagay from the external environment na dadaan sa kanyang mga senses para siya ay gumalaw or para makagawa ng activity. For example, if a learner sees an instructional material about multiplying numbers, magpa-perform ang learner ng activity kasi nakakita siya ng stimulus from the external environment, and the stimulus in this situation is the instructional material. Pero ang problema kasi natin dito sa first category, walang pagkukusa ang learner hanggat hindi siya nakakakita ng stimulus na dadaan sa kanyang mga senses bago pa siya gagawa ng activity para ma-practice yung competency. And the keywords to be used for the perception category are as follows. The second category is set, and this refers to a learner's readiness to act. And this includes the 3 mindsets that predetermine a learner's response to different situations. Kanina sa first category, nakakita pa lang ang learner ng stimulus bago pa siya gagalaw and perform the activity. Pagdating dito sa second category, isa-set na niya ang kanyang isip and yung kanyang emotional status and yung kanyang body to perform the activity. For example, if a learner sees an instructional material and it motivates the mind, the emotions, and the body, ibig sabihin motivated na yung learner na i-practice ang new competency. And here are the keywords to be used for the set category. The third category for the psychomotor domain is guided response, and here the learner imitates a process and undergoes trial and error. In other words, once the learner motivates himself or herself to practice a new competency, kailangan may paggagayahan muna siyang isang process to produce a desirable learning outcome. But a learner is still prone to errors kasi pwede pa siyang magkamali kasi nga bago lang sa kanya yung competency, and para maging excellent siya sa skill na yon, kailangan mag-practice siya consistently. For example, if a learner performs a mathematical equation as demonstrated by the teacher, there is still a possibility na maaaring mali ang learning outcome at first kasi nga, papracticein pa lang niya yung competency bago pa lang siya doon. And the way to perfect the competency is through practice with the guidance of the teacher. And here are the keywords to be used for this category. The fourth category is called mechanism, at dito mag-uumpisa ang complex behavior for the psychomotor domain because this focuses on the basic proficiency of the learner about the competency. Kasi dito sa mechanism, once a learner imitates a process that produces a desirable learning outcome for that competency, uulitin niya yung process na yun kasi nga yun yung nagpaproduce ng desirable learning outcome. At kapag inulit niya yun or naging habitual yun, the learner shows confidence and proficiency in doing the skill. Ibig sabihin may wala na siya sa sarili niya para magawa yung activity or ma-practice yung competency. For example, if the learner is able to print an MS Word file without the supervision or the guidance of his or her teacher, may basic proficiency na siya dun sa competency kasi may tiwala na siya sa sarili niya na kaya niyang i-accomplish or i-practice yung activity. And here are the keywords to be used for the mechanism category. Let us proceed to the fifth major category for the psychomotor domain, which is called complex overt response. Dito sa category na ito, makikita ang expertise ng isang learner about that competency because the learner shows a skillful performance indicated by accuracy and high coordination requiring minimum energy. Ibig sabihin, madali nilang sa kanya na i-perform or i-practice yung competency tapos hindi na siya nasa stress. Halimbawa, yung ating subject is driving sa senior high school, and if a learner confidently maneuvers a car into a tight parking spot with ease and no stress at all, then expert na siya dun sa competency kasi confident na siya at madali lang sa kanyang gawin yung activity. At naririto ang mga keywords na pwede natin gamitin for this category. Kung mapapansin nyo, magkaparehas ang keywords ng mechanism at ng complex overt response, pero sa complex overt response, nag-a-attach tayo ng adverbs and adjectives para maipakita ang mas magandang performance. Pero take note, for this category, the expertise of the learner only focuses on the same process na tinuro sa kanya ng kanyang teacher to produce the desirable learning outcome. Ibig sabihin, kung babaguhin ang activity or babaguhin ang situation, may tendency magkamali ang learner or hindi siya makaproduce ng same desirable learning outcome doon sa una niyang minaster. And this situation leads us to the sixth major category for the psychomotor domain, which is adaptation. At dito, the learner's skills are well developed and can modify movements to fit special requirements. Ibig sabihin, kayang baguhin ng isang learner ang steps sa process na naituro sa kanya para ma-master ang isang competency kahit maging iba-iba ang mga activities. For example, kung ang learner ay nakasagot ng maayos sa isang activity na nagre-require ng ibang process sa naituro sa kanila, ibig sabihin, nakapag-adapt siya doon sa panibagong activity. Kumbaga, nagamit pa rin niya yung process na naituro sa kanila, pero binago niya yon to suit the new activity for that competency. And the keywords to be used for this category are as follows. The last major category for the psychomotor domain is origination, and the learner creates new movement patterns to fit a particular situation. Ibig sabihin, maliban pa sa process na naituro sa kanya ng kanyang teacher, gumagawa pa siya ng sarili niyang patterns or movements para masagutan ang iba't ibang mga activities at para maipakita niya ang kanyang expertise para sa competency na yon. Dahil sa origination category, kailangan natin ng creativity para makagawa ng sariling movements or process para masagutan ng iba't ibang mga situations. Halimbawa, kung ang learner ay nakapag-create ng mas madaling paraan para makapag-multiply ng 2-digit numbers, ibig sabihin, nasa origination category na siya. And here are the keywords to be used for the origination category. And now let us go back. We have 7 major categories for the psychomotor domain, starting with perception, set, guided response, mechanism, complex overt response, adaptation, and origination, wherein perception is the simplest behavior and origination is the most complex behavior. Now, let us have an activity and you will identify the category defined for the following situation or phenomena. And now let us discover when to use the correct category for a psychomotor objective. The correct category for a psychomotor objective depends on the degree of skill you require the learners to perform. Ibig sabihin, nasa sayo yan kung ano bang degree ang gusto mong iparanas para matuto ang learner dun sa competency na yon. But as much as possible, encourage the learners to undergo the complex categories such as the mechanism, the complex overt response, adaptation, and origination. Ngayong alam na natin kung anong category ang gagamitin natin in order for us to create our own psychomotor objectives, it is now time to write our own psychomotor objectives. And it depends on the cognitive objective pa rin because the cognitive objective contains the mental skill needed. Importanteng based ang psychomotor objective sa ating cognitive objective because once a learner learns a new competency, syempre dadaan yun sa mind. And it has to be practiced by the body at ma-undergo natin yun kung gagamit tayo ng psychomotor objective. Now, to make this simple, ganito yung ating process para makapag-create tayo ng psychomotor objectives. Halimbawa, once na na-create nyo na ang cognitive objectives, tatanungin nyo yung sarili nyo before nyo i-create ang psychomotor objectives. Sa anong paraan ba natin makikita yung skill na kailangan ng isang learner para sa competency na yon? How can this be seen as a skill? And does it need to be precise? Anong degree ba ng precision or accurateness ang kailangan para maipakita or ma-perform ang skill na kailangan para sa competency? Kapag nasagutan mo na yon, you can create your own psychomotor objectives. And hindi naman kailangan na gagamitin natin ang mga suggested keywords for every category because you can use other action words to suit the category and become aligned with the cognitive objectives. For example, halimbawa ang ating learning competency is comparing decimal numbers. I think this is math for grade 5 or grade 6. Halimbawa ang ating cognitive objectives ay compare decimal numbers through greater than, less than, or equal. So the possible psychomotor objective for this is solve exercises with proficiency. Take note, yung action word na ginamit natin is solve pero hindi naman siya suggested action word. Pero sa psychomotor objective na ginawa natin, meron pang isang panibagong action word which is proficiency. And proficiency belongs to complex overt response. Uulitin ko, you can use any other action words as long as it suits the category you require the learners to perform. Pwedeng ibahin mo, mag-deviate ka, or gumawa ka ng panibagong action word. Basta, as long as it suits the category you require the learners to perform, edi okay tayo doon. For example, meron pa tayong isa pang example dito. Kung ang learning competency natin is demonstrates self-monitoring skills to prevent communicable diseases, which is from health ng grade 8, halimbawa, ang ating cognitive objectives is to demonstrate self-monitoring skills, blah, 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 blah. Ang possible psychomotor objective natin is to display accurately self-monitoring skills. Take note, meron na tayo ditong action word na display, pero nilagyan natin siya ng adverb. Yung accurately, di ba sabi ko kanina, pagdating sa complex overt response, naglalagay tayo ng adjectives and adverbs para maipakita na mas maganda ang performance for that category. So, ibig sabihin, yung psychomotor objective natin, it belongs to complex overt response category. So, depende sa'yo yan kung anong action words ang gagamitin mo, kung anong category ang pipiliin mong i-perform ng bawat learners for every competency. And with that, let us proceed to the home activity for this episode. So, ang gagawin nyo dito is you will create your own psychomotor objectives for every learning competency. Tapos isi-state nyo kung saang category belong ang bawat psychomotor objective na ginamit nyo. At ang ating answer sheet na gagamitin for this episode's home activity ay ilalagay ko na sa description box. At naririto na ang mga learners na nakapag-upload ng kanilang mga answers for episode 2's home activity. Congratulations sa inyo at ang inyong certificate of achievement ay nakalagay sa description box. And let us proceed to our self-reflection for this episode. And once again, ilagay nyo nga sa comment section sa baba kung ano ang natutunan nyo for this episode. And the next episode for this summer lesson plan tutorial series will be on April 3, 2020, and it will be all about how to create technologies and learning materials or yung instructional materials based sa ating learning objectives, which are the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor objectives. At sa lahat ng mga videos ko tungkol sa DepEd ranking, lesson plan tutorials, and other teacher-related stuff, iiwan ko ang lahat ng link dito sa description box. Once again, this is Niel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you sa April 3. Bye, guys!